Hello there, and welcome to this video where I am going to be listing and ranking the songs from Dawn FM by The Weeknd. Dawn FM is such a great album in my personal opinion. I love the retro 80s vibes on the album. I mean, the vibes are strong. I love how the album is from start to finish and how it really is an album with just wonderful seamless transitions all throughout, and how it has like a concept album with it being a radio show and such. I just really think it's a wonderful piece of work out of The Weeknd's library of music, and it is, as he has made very well known, the start of another trilogy, which I am so pumped for, because if this is starting it off and we're starting on this strong of a note, I can only imagine how good the rest of the trilogy is going to be. I base my ranking just off of what songs have I been listening to the most from this album. And I will tell you, it was an incredibly difficult ranking to make, especially from about number 10 and on. With that said, I genuinely don't think there is a right or wrong way to rank this album. Everyone's going to have a different opinion, as they should. That's the beauty of music. So this is all in fun and just a personal opinion of what I have been listening to the most. I'm going to start with number 16 and work my way to number 1, and I'm going to get going right now. Number 16 is A Tale by Quincy, which is a song that actually, music arrangement wise, I think is very beautiful, and it is a wonderful intro into Out of Time. But since it is just a spoken word moment on the album, it is one that I listen to when I'm listening to the album in its entirety. But it is kind of one that just stands out on its own if I am, shuffling the songs. So it makes the most sense when it's in the correct order of the album, but I don't listen to it a lot when it's on its own. Number 15 is Every Angel is Terrifying. Every Angel is Terrifying is definitely a transition interlude song. So same as A Tale by Quincy, it makes complete and perfect sense in the flow of the album if you're listening to the album properly from beginning to end. But on its own, it is pretty jarring to just get on, to just hear on shuffle. But it is a very chaotic transition, and it is something that is very different than what I have heard from The Weeknd previously, and I do appreciate all of the creativity in this particular interlude. Number 14 is Don't Break My Heart. I think of the proper songs on the album, this is the one I listen to the least. I find other songs on the album to be more compelling production-wise and lyrically to listen to. But I have nothing against this song. This album as a whole is just so on another level of good, in my opinion, that it's going to be hard for every single song to be the most compelling one. And obviously something had to be at number 14. 13 is Phantom Regret by Jim. And once again, this is another spoken word moment, hence why I have it at this point on the list. But let me just say, I actually really do love this, and I do listen to it on its own because, first of all, Jim Carrey's voice, who would have thought that his voice was going to be so perfect to be the radio DJ narrator for this album? Like, his voice is just very soothing to listen to. He does a wonderful job playing the part. And plus, what is being said is just so beautiful. Like, it is very beautiful, touching spoken word. And the music production is just gorgeous, especially on the outro. And then I can't get enough of The Weeknd layering up his ad-libs over top of the spoken word, because it's just like very tender, soft ad-libs by him that are so beautiful. So all in all, a very, very gorgeous moment on the album. Number 12 for me is Starry Eyes. I'm going to read the note I wrote about it just to make sure I get my thought out completely and concisely. And I said, this song 100% is wonderful as a seamless extension of Is There Someone Else? But I only listen to it if I am listening to Is There Someone Else? Because of that, it's at number 12. Same as some of the other tracks I have mentioned so far. It is a beautiful transition and it is seamless and it pairs so well with the tracks around it, but not one I seek out to listen to individually. 11 is Best Friends. Best Friends is another track. I wrote a little paragraph on it because I don't want to stumble over my words. And I said, this song is catchy and has a nice bop along to it. Like the beat is like dun dun dun. Like it's got a good little bop along. So it's very memorable for that reason. But I do feel it sticks out a bit musically from the rest of the album. It's not really pulling into that 80s synths pop kind of sounds too much. But Best Friends, I think production wise does remind me a bit more of older music from The Weeknd. Like it did feel a bit more familiar to what I had heard previously from The Weeknd. So for that reason, I think it was very nice to include on the album because this was a hard turn sonically for this album. So it kind of was like a song of familiarity for his longtime fans. Okay, so now we're into the top 10. It was very, very difficult to figure out the order of my top 10. Number 10 is Dawn FM Intro. So one of the intros or interludes did make it into the top 10, and I love this album intro so much. It might be one of my favorite album intros I have ever heard, to be honest. And I do listen to this intro on its own. Like I don't only listen to this if I'm listening to the album from start to finish. It just sets up the album perfectly and it's gorgeous, it's moody, it's a little dark, it's synth filled, but even though it's kind of dark and moody, it still sounds hopeful at the same time. And there's just really gorgeous harmonies on it. It's so pretty. I think it was just the perfect way to set up this more of a concept album. Number 9 for me is I Heard You're Married featuring Lil Wayne, which made me laugh the first time I heard it. It just wasn't the voice I was expecting to hear on the track. One thing I said specifically about this song that I adore is this one digs deep into being hardcore 80s pop vibes. The production of the music overall on this track just screams 80s Michael Jackson pop music to me, like through and through. And I think that's another reason why I think it's so interesting to hear Lil Wayne on a song with that intense of a retro vibe. But I'm not upset about that at all. And I do like to listen to it on its own. Like seriously, like I said, from here on out, these are very heavy rotation songs in my repertoire as I am listening to music on my own time. Number 8 is Less Than Zero, and this one was a major grower for me. If you watched my Dawn FM reaction, when I first heard Less Than Zero, I was just kind of surprised to be hearing it. And for me, it really just stood out from the rest, but I couldn't tell if I liked how it stood out from the rest. But after the second listen, I immediately started to understand it more. And now I do really enjoy the song. And I do think it fits very well with the rest of the album. It's definitely more of a tender moment on the album. And I think I saw in my comments, some people were saying it kind of gave them like the same vibe as what Save Your Tears did on After Hours. And I would agree with that. I feel like Less Than Zero is kind of the Save Your Tears of this album, but it's really nice. It's more of a light song in the production. It doesn't feel quite as moody. So it's a little bit of a breath of fresh air. Number 7 is Here We Go Again featuring Tyler, the Creator. My note for this particular song is I actually listened to this song a decent amount, which is very true because I love the backing vocals and it is a very nice song to sing along to. I love the tight harmonies in the intro and it sounds like just an 80s pop love power ballad, and I think that I think it's the music production is 100% what hooked me on that song immediately. I just felt like it was a very sweet sounding, dreamy ballad. This is the one note I want to say on this song because I've listened to it a ton. And this note I'm going to say obviously has not prevented me from loving the song. But I do feel like Tyler, the Creator's part is slightly clunky. And I don't mean his verse per se. I just mean having a rap verse inserted into this song. I felt like was an interesting choice. I mean, his part is great. Like his part is fine, but it's just having it in this slow of a ballad, in this dreamy of a ballad, felt like an interesting choice to me. Number 6 is There Someone Else? And this was a song I knew very quickly I liked a lot. And this is for a couple reasons. Is There Someone Else feels very authentic to the overall vibe of the album while also feeling very authentic to The Weeknd and his work he has done previously. It's a cooler, darker tone overall with the song, and it's one I really enjoy singing along to, but I kind of felt like that Is There Someone Else was the perfect melding of The Weeknd currently in his music and where The Weeknd was previously in his music. I don't know, it's just cool. It's a cool, darker, chill vibe, but still holding on to the retro influence. Now we're on number 5, and clearly at this point, most of the up-tempo songs are still up for grabs, and that's because the up-tempo songs on this album cannot be beat. They are gold, and I listen to all of them so much. So it was very hard to figure out my top 5, but I did my best, and I'll go ahead and start with number 5, which is How Do I Make You Love Me? How Do You Make You Love Me it's just fun. It's fun. You want to dance. And I think what took that song from like an 8 to a 10 for me was the outro and the seamless transition into Take My Breath. Obviously, I can listen to How Do I Make You Love Me and Take My Breath on their own, but I normally choose to listen to them only together consecutively because I just can't get over how seamless and good that transition is and how cool it is and the tone and the production and the beat. It's actually some of my favorite stuff I have heard from music in a very long time. And that's why How Do I Make You Love Me is number 5. Number 4 is Take My Breath, because this extended cut of the song on the album made the song even better for me. I love that it is an extended intro and that it has an extended music bridge as well. I truly think Take My Breath was a wonderful single that to have been released to get people ready for this era of music, because it really does encompass what this album is, and it does it in a very radio friendly way, but it's still such quality music that you just can't help but want to hear it all the time. It's an addictive single. I've listened to that song consistently since the single version was released. And then once this version was released, I don't think I've ever listened to the single version again. There's no turning back. I love this extended cut. Number 3 is Gasoline. Gasoline. Whoo, dark and fun. I cannot get enough of this song. It's definitely one of the darkest songs lyrically on the album, but the beat and the overall production create such a magnificent mood to the song. It creates this mood that's just grim and dark and kind of chaotic, but also just like you want to party and have a good time. And I love that The Weeknd is in one of the lowest parts of his range throughout the verses too. It was so surprising for me to hear it first because he doesn't do that super often. So it's always a little treat when he switches it up vocally, and it made it even more addictive for me. Number 2 is the last slow song, and that is Out of Time. Out of Time is a wonderful mid-tempo, well, I said slow song, but no, it's more mid-tempo, a wonderful mid-tempo pop ballad at its finest. It is a glittering pop ballad. It is one of the songs that lays very hard into 80s synths and sounds and 80s pop. It is a song that I feel like I could hear Michael Jackson singing to, quite honestly. I definitely think Out of Time could carry itself as a slower single from this album. I think that one, if he wanted to release one of the slower songs as a single, I would definitely pick Out of Time. I think even though it really is retro influence, a lot of people from many different age groups, I think, would really love that song. Sometimes I think the best way to describe songs is simply just it's a good, well-produced track, and that is this song. I just think it really hits the mark on so many levels. And finally, number one is the banger of all bangers, Sacrifice. I have been obsessed with Sacrifice ever since I think I heard the first 10 seconds of the song on my very first listen. I love the chords throughout the verses. It's definitely a song that could easily be a single because it gets stuck in your head so easily in the absolute best way. I think Sacrifice is great because it definitely has the same overall 80s smooth kind of pop sort of vibe, but just like Take My Breath, it has so many present day elements and layers in the production to it as well that make it feel very fresh, even though there is such heavy influence of from sounds of music's past in it. But his vocals are great. It is very easy to sing along to. And the groove, Sacrifice has an amazing groove to it. Like, it's probably one of the grooviest songs on the album, and that is why I just adore it so much, and I think it is so good. I think it's so good. That's my ranking for Dawn FM, and I would love to know in the comments how you would rank this album, because I think that the tracks on this album can appeal to people for a variety of reasons, and because of that, everyone could have like a different prioritization of how they would list the songs. And I think that's beautiful. I think that's great. And I love when music is so good that it's very hard to know what songs people are going to love most, you know? And that's this album. It's just a quality album. If you enjoyed this video, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done so. Thank you so much for watching this video, especially if you made it until the very end. And until my next one, bye.